All right, guys. Tomorrow, well, I guess it is tonight. It's gonna be 9:30 Eastern time, 6:30 Pacific. We're gonna have an actual discussion. Not, I think I will have it on this channel, Bold Like a Leopard, but you can see probably a more quality production broadcast on Forgotten Millennials channel. This is my first collaboration with him. Been talking to him on the phone a few times, and we're going to discuss the Venezuela crisis along with Carlos Cordova and Gabriel. So those are two friends of mine who are Venezuelans living in Southern California, who are, they're basically going to give their perspective as people who come from there, who essentially had to leave because of the lack of freedom over there. And in Carlos's case, I believe that his family got blacklisted back in the early 2000s because they got fired from their jobs for voting against Chavez at the time. So that's basically what's going to happen tonight. And the situation it has me kind of conflicted. But I do want to say to somebody, this piece of crap who is here, because he gave me perfect, he actually commented on my channel today. And he's saying morons like you, meaning me, just made our hemisphere less safe. Good thing for you, this coup attempt was planned by Wile E. Coyote and will probably fail. Maybe the lunatics in charge won't start World War III over it. Well, let me ask you, Danny. So would you say that China and Russia would therefore commit military forces to Venezuela in order to keep it out of Yankee hands? Is that what you're trying to say? Because I thought that China and Russia don't control Venezuela. I thought that wasn't the case. But in either case, no, I didn't, as I said to him, because he's a fucking retard, and he's also a coward because he welched out at the end of our quote-unquote debate on Nicaragua. I don't support military intervention by the U.S. in Venezuela. I would have absolutely no problem if Brazil or Colombia would invade. I wonder if he would support Russia and China dedicating forces to keeping Colombia and Brazil out of South America. It would seem to me that he probably would, because he doesn't want to acknowledge that he's basically just a communist. He just is. He's a communist fat piece of shit. And I told him if he wants to do something good for somebody there, he should just donate 20 of the Hot Pockets he eats for lunch to the people of Venezuela. And I'm sure they would be happy for it. And then he's like, oh, this is personal attacks or whatever. He called me a dipshit in the original comment. This is a guy I argued with this in the summer. It was a pretty funny debate. By the way, he wanted to debate me in the same one about Nicaragua. He wanted to debate me about Black Lives Matter. I brought up the issue of Black Lives Matter, like with the lies that they had here. They had an actual libel against people from the city of Strongsville, close to where I live. And he decided he wanted to end the debate because he had to take a piss. Maybe his bladder is like 5 gallons or something, and it takes him too long to take a piss, and the debate would have ended like we wouldn't have been able to keep the audience or something. I don't know what his reason was. I was perfectly fine continuing the debate. Also, he apparently, I never got to capture it, but before the debate, he made some sort of hype video claiming that I wouldn't show up, and then he had to delete it. This guy is just he's a complete fucking coward. And all he does is rage out on Jamal Thomas's live stream chat. And I'm happy for, if I'm extending this invitation, if he wants to come over to my channel this time and explain to me exactly what the benefit is of Maduro remaining in power, I welcome him. I'm not sure, and again, I've made it clear in every broadcast I've done on the topic that I don't support military intervention in Venezuela. Yet he's blaming me, some guy from Ohio, who's never worked a government job in his life. I don't have any influence. I don't know anybody who works for the State Department or for I know some people who are in the military, which doesn't say much. And that's about it. And, Jimmy Dore is also like, he's using people like Max Blumenthal as examples. Max Blumenthal works for Telesur, and he's featured on Telesur. Now, I don't know I don't know what sort of payment arrangement they have with him. If they have a payment arrangement, I imagine they have to, because he can't work for free. He has to run his own company. If he's doing it voluntarily, I mean, I guess there's no problem. But he goes on and he literally represents the line of the Venezuelan government to the English speaking world. So people like Jimmy Dore are complaining. Look, if you want to complain about right wing bias in the media, or neocon bias, or whatever you want to say, that's fine. But if you're using people who are blatantly biased on your own side, then we get the chance to throw shots at you too, Jimmy. Okay, he's featuring this Max Blumenthal. Max Blumenthal is a garbage journalist. It's a fact. Max Blumenthal, guy who goes to hearings dedicated to talking about human rights violations in Nicaragua, and he says, well, why don't we talk about human rights violations in Gaza? So the panelist, all he has to say is, well, why don't you go to the other 30 panels that deal with that, and you can let me do my job here. That's what the guy should have said. You can criticize two different countries without contradicting yourself. I don't understand what the problem is. That's why. By the way, another interesting thing that Danny tried to say during our debate over Nicaragua, he tried to say that the U.S. is funding military forces in Nicaragua the same way as they were in the 80s with the Contras. But the fact is that all the violent incidents where protesters were attacking the police there were with like makeshift weapons. And I was like, so what? We're basically sending them shitty PVC pipe cannons. And Danny didn't have an answer. He's like, I guess maybe no, not PVC. So the guy is basically, he's a fat, ugly, disgusting toad. And he's welcome anytime. He is welcome anytime. I indulge any sort of opportunity I have in order to let Danny Knapp demonstrate how big of a retard he is. Another time he also claimed that the Saudi Arabians were basically paying racist trolls to post comments on CNN YouTube videos. That's how stupid he is. Like Saudi Arabia would care what CNN commenters say. So yeah, the Venezuelan situation is very fluid. I'm hoping that there would be no need for a military intervention. If the military in Venezuela does overthrow Maduro, I wouldn't shed a tear. Fuck him and fuck his supporters overseas. There's literally what's the justification for keeping Maduro in power? He was incompetent at managing the country before this economic, the latest economic crisis hit. He didn't have any sort of handle on how to reform not Telesur, but PDVSA, or any of the other state companies that are in Venezuela. He's basically gone and taken over factories. Well, how come those factories aren't producing anything since he's taken them over and appropriated them? Well, the thing is, when you take over people's resources, they don't want to do business anymore with you. The rest of the world doesn't want to do business with a country where they basically march in and take shit from companies, okay? So why would other countries want to do business with Venezuela? Why would they want to buy anything from there? Why would anybody want to do anything with Venezuela the way that they're running the country? They don't know how to even get oil out of the ground anymore because they fire all the people that used to be good at it at PDVSA. They promote people that are loyal to the government who have no experience in petroleum drilling at all. And then you start to complain, well, there's an economic war against us. Yeah, there's an economic war against you, waged by you. That's about it. Please check it out tonight at 9:30. Forgotten Millennials and on Bold Like a Leopard. And also, I will try to mirror some of it onto... I don't think it will be very practical to do it on BitChute, but maybe I could figure out a way. That's about it. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell in order to get notifications. Also, please see me on all the social media behind me. Subscribe to me on Cocoscope and BitChute, and I'll talk to you later.